we are going to be talking today about the meal guides with your fitness program, and then also a little bit of tips with making Shakeology.
Yeah, so my name is Courtney.
And my name is Megan, and we are on a team together. So we decided to team up to make this video so that you guys can get a little bit of our both perspective with this. So you probably noticed that you got this big box of whatever program that you got, and then you're gonna find your DVDs and your eating plan. If you can't find your eating plan, it's gonna be stuck in with your DVDs. So be looking for that.
And then you're also going to get these wonderful little colorful containers that we will talk more about.
Yeah, so your eating plan is going to look like this. And the first place that you want to open up to is on page 4. And get your calculator when you're on page 4. So this is going to be kind of your calorie counter. And it's going to figure out how many calories you're going to eat. This is a very simple way to figure out your calories. So what you want to start with is your weight. And multiply that times 11.
So let's say you weigh 150. So you start off doing 150 times 11, which brings us to 1,650.
Then you want to add 400 calories, technically, because you earned that by doing your workout today.
Yeah, so that puts us at 2,050.
And then you want to subtract, and it all says it here on page 4, but you want to subtract 750 so that you have that calorie deficit, so that you're having that difference from the calories that you're eating versus the calories that you are burning.
So that puts us at 1,300.
Okay, when you get that, then you're going to go to page 19, and on page 19, it's going to give you the calorie chart. So you want to take that number, so if it's 1,300, that's going to put me in this first category right here, and that's going to tell you how many of each of those containers that you're going to eat. If you have 1,300 calories a day, that's going to put you in bracket 1. So that's going to get you, for example, 3 of the green container, 2 of the purple container, and so on. If you are below this category, so if you're below 1,200 calories, you want to move up to that first one. And if you are above the last category, you want to go down to that one. So you might find, or a lot of our challengers find, that they can't eat all of the food, that it's a lot of food. And this isn't a eating contest. You have to eat as much food as you possibly can, and you have to stuff yourself with every container. But don't use it as a crutch to not get your veggies in.
Yeah.
So eat what you can, eat the right kinds of foods, and do what you can there. So I'm going to head it over to Courtney to talk about a little more about containers.
Might talk one more little bit on the calorie intake. So say we have some moms who are just starting breastfeeding.
Oh, yeah.
We can kind of hit on those calorie intakes as well. So in that chart there, if I can get back to the right page without messing us up, say you're in bracket 1 for the 1,300, I would go ahead and move yourself up to the second bracket, which is 1,500 to 1,800. That way it gives you a few more calories, because new mamas definitely need more, about, I think, 500 to 1,000 extra calories to provide for that breast milk coming in. So definitely feel free to bump up a category and don't feel ashamed of doing that. All right, so moving on to containers, I'm going to go ahead and start with the green container, because I know our favorite is the veggies. And like Megan said, if you are not getting all your containers in, don't just skip out on your 3 servings of veggies for the day. So usually when I make a salad, I know this doesn't look, you're like, oh my gosh, this tiny bowl isn't going to fill me up. You can stuff a lot of spinach in this green container. One time I actually tried, I'm just going to do 2 containers of spinach for the day for my salad. And everybody at work was laughing at me. I had this huge plate pile of spinach. So 1 container is definitely the purple. So I guess I can back up. For our first bracket, for the green, you can have 3 of the green containers for the 1,300 calories. Say you're 150 pounds. Moving on to the purple for fruit, you can have 2 servings of these in the first bracket. So go ahead and fill up your purple container with all these blueberries here.
And what I find some people is that they don't want to eat the entire container in one sitting. So they might do just a half of a container in one, and then a half a container the next time they eat. So you don't have to eat these all in one sitting, for sure.
Sometimes if I'm putting fruit in my Shakeology in the morning, I'll do a half purple of fruit, and then I'll just have the other half for lunch. So that's a nice way to split it up as well. Our next one is the red container, and then our protein goes in this. So for eggs, boiled eggs can be 2 eggs count as 1 serving of the red. And if you're doing egg whites, say you're doing like an egg white omelet, you get 8 servings of the egg whites. for instead of the 2 eggs. Also, say we're having some salsa chicken, Megan's favorite. You can fill this up all the way to the brim of this red container, and that counts as a serving as your protein as well. All right, the blue container, this is for your good fats, such as nuts, cheese, avocado, anything like that. So I definitely take full advantage of this when I'm filling this up with my cheese, because cheese is kind of my favorite.
For sure.
And then also with the nuts, sometimes they have specifications. So if it's almonds, I think it's like 12 almonds. You'll definitely have to look and see. So you can't always fill the containers completely up depending on the food, but they always have it listed in the book there if there is like a certain number you can have. I don't think we've talked about carbs yet. I should have backed up. Carbs are probably my favorite.
The best!
And I believe you can have 2 containers of these. I might have to double check.
In that first column, yeah. You'll want to look at your own column of which one you fit in most.
Yep. So, say we're having our salsa chicken and you want to put that in a tortilla. 1 tortilla counts as 1 yellow container. So there are certain things like with bread, you're thinking, oh my gosh, do I have to stuff my slice of bread in there? To see if this fits. No. So 1 slice of bread, I believe, counts as 1. 1 tortilla shell counts as 1 yellow container. If you're having some quinoa or some rice, you can also fill that up, and that counts as your serving as well. And then your orange container counts as your nuts and your dressings, or your seeds and dressings. So say you're doing like sunflower seeds, anything like that, you can fill this container up, or your dressings for your salads. This is a really good measurement to use for that.
Keep in mind, I have had this come up, that these are not leak-proof. So it's more of a measuring tool than I'm going to bring this and put it in my lunchbox. Because if you bring it and put it in your lunchbox, it's probably going to end up all at the bottom.
Yeah, I learned that my first week of the 21-day fix.
For sure.
Let's see.
My favorite is going to be your nut butters. Your teaspoon is what counts for your nut butters. And so I think in the first bracket you get 2 teaspoons of that. And that does not come with this. You probably have a teaspoon at home. You can just use that one for sure. So one interesting thing about this system is that this is not supposed to be something that you do for the rest of your life. If you need to, go for it. But this is just teaching us portions, because let's face it, when you go out to dinner, your portions are probably, or if you grew up like me, your portions are all over the place. Yeah. So this just gives you a good idea. Maybe you need to do it for 2 months, maybe you do it for a year, maybe you need to do it for 5 years. But until you figure out, okay, this is 1 portion of vegetables, this is 1 portion of carbs, and we're not skewed in our thinking of how many portions things are, this is a really great system to go back to and refresh your brain on all of those different things.
Yeah, so now when I'm making food, I don't always measure them in my containers because I kind of have an idea of what my portions are. I was telling Megan earlier, in the back of my head, I was like, okay, I already had my 2 cups of fruit for the day. That would be my purple container. I can't have any more. So it just gets in your head after a while. It becomes habit and second nature. So that's kind of our overall goal with this.
Yeah, so we wanted to talk about some common questions because we've been doing this for a little bit, and we get a lot of kind of the similar same questions. Our first resource, and we will be honest with you guys, our first resource when you all ask us questions is we usually go, well, we probably know the answer, but usually we go and Google it.
Yeah.
So if you want to save time of getting a response back from us, go Google it. Autumn Calabrese, you know, the real fit chick on the front of this, she has all kinds of videos. So maybe you want to type in the question in Google and then type in Autumn or Autumn Calabrese. And it's probably going to give you the answer that you're looking for, and it's probably going to be better than our answer. But we'll go over a couple of misconceptions or questions to start with.
Yeah, so one of my things that I always Googled is how to count almond milk. I Googled it so many times, and I would always see different answers. So some people even counted it as a blue container. I don't really know. Some people counted it as a yellow. So one night when I was getting ready to start my first accountability group, I was like, I'm going to Google this again, and I found a video of Autumn. She has great explanations for everything. Her explanation is it's a freebie. You don't have to use it for your yellow container, which means extra carb container for the day. And her explanation was that almond milk, if you use the unsweetened kind, as you can see, Megan has the unsweetened original, 8 ounces of that only counts as 30 calories and less than 1 gram of sugar and no fat. So she was like, that's basically a freebie. We don't have to count it as anything, which is awesome. So fill that 8-ounce glass of almond milk up when you're making your shake, you're good to go.
One thing that we get asked a lot also, and this is actually in the guide, so if you look on where it talks about the red containers, a lot of people have questions about eggs. So 2 eggs count as 1 red container. 8 egg whites counts as 1 red container. And the reason is that has to do just mainly with like calories and things like that, not necessarily how much protein is in it, because the yolk, that definitely adds more calories. So you can choose, do you want 2 eggs or do you want the 8 egg whites?
People will ask me about, and probably because they know I like to have a good time, is the alcohol questions. I'm like the go-to for that. So one thing that is kind of nice, 3 times a week you can use this yellow container, and it counts as 4 ounces of a glass of wine, so you can do that 3 times a week. I know a lot of us have a rough day at work. We just want to kind of come home, relax, and maybe have that glass of wine. So that is really nice. Another thing, if I'm not really maybe recording it, I'm having a cheap fun day with the girls, I just try and stick to anything really low calorie. So if I'm mixing like my vodka or my gin, I mix it with something that's 0 calories, say like flavored water or maybe water in a Crystal Light packet, anything that's 0 calorie to add to that, so you're not getting in those extra calories. Try to avoid beer. Beer has a lot of calories and makes you feel super bloated. And avoid those really cute drinks that they offer at the bar, the little cocktails, because those are packed with sugar. So those are things that I try to avoid, or my go-to drinks that are low calorie when I'm out with the girls, want to have a good time.
So one question that I get a lot is, okay, I'm like things like salsa chicken or something where you're actually making and you're mixing different containers in one thing, and it's going to end up all together at the end and you don't want to separate it. I usually will either measure ahead of time, so I'll figure out, okay, how much chicken did I put in there, and then kind of measure afterwards. Or to be honest with you guys, a lot of times I just eyeball it. Yeah. So salsa chicken, I usually count it because this one only has the salsa in it, and then the chicken, and then some seasonings, which are free. I usually just count it as one of my reds. So I will only put it in here. Riley wants to eat it, so I will put it in there, and I'll just count that. If I really am being really strict, I might count it as a half of, whatever the salsa will count as. So I don't get super, super strict on it. I kind of eyeball it, and maybe it's one of this and one of this if it has a mix of those.
Our concern isn't like which container exactly is it, it's more so the portion control itself. So as long as you're not filling up your whole plate with it and you're trying to keep it as portion control, that's another great way to look. And I don't really like math at all, so I don't like sitting down there figuring out my portions and what containers. I just go on Pinterest and I always type in 21-day fixed recipes, and it already has it measured out for me. This recipe for 2 cups or a cup and a half counts as 1 red container, half a purple, 1 yellow, 1 blue, and I'm like, perfect. Let me tally that in my little sheets there. So that works out really well.
For sure. So we're going to transition into Shakeology a little bit, and just real quick, we're going to talk about some of our favorite recipes and how we make it. So I usually blend almost every Shakeology that I do. I have a little hand blender, and I always put my liquid in first. So I either put 8 to 12 ounces, depending on how thick I want it. If I want it really thin, I'll put 12. If I want it really thick, I'll put 8 ounces. And I usually either use almond milk or I'll use just water. Even when I do almond milk, I like to put ice in it just because I like having that kind of like milkshake kind of consistency.
Feels like you have like an icy.
Yeah. So my favorite recipe is doing a green container of spinach after I put that liquid in, and then just a scoop of chocolate. Or I'll do the liquid, a green container of spinach because I'm really bad about getting my vegetables in, and then I'll do, a vanilla or something like that and some fruit. So I keep it really simple. Courtney definitely gets a little crazier.
I get a little crazy with my recipes. I like one called Snickerdoodle. It has some peanut butter, cinnamon, vanilla extract, lots of good things. I have one, let's see, it's like Orange Julius or something. It has like low-calorie orange juice, a banana, maybe some pineapple. I like to go a little crazy and fun with my fruits. Definitely trying to keep it low-calorie, but something that makes it fun to wake up to in the morning. So
the key here is put your liquid in first.
Yes.
Pour in your liquid first. If you put that ShakeO at the bottom, it's going to be disgusting.
Chunky.
It's going to be chunky and
some questions. People are like, will make theirs and say, oh my gosh, it's so thick, it's hard to drink, and I'm asking them what they're putting in it. Almond milk definitely makes it a little thicker, I think, creamier, thicker. So ice can definitely help with that. And then also if you're adding a banana in and almond milk, just know that it's going to be a little thicker that way as well.
Yeah, for sure. Whatever you add in, that's going to make it thicker. So if you want it to be less thick, you need to use water or take some of that extra stuff out.
Yep,
for sure.
I agree.
I think that's all that we have. If you have questions, definitely let us know. Post them below or direct message us, and we will get to them. So have a great day, you guys.
See ya.
See ya.